we are in a really fortunate sector in the sense that it just makes for such interesting times in energy, in 2019 onwards. I mean, if you look at what we've done as a country, South Africa, over the last 9 years, and, my recollection is that, prior to the launch of the REIPPP program in South Africa, in 2010, we had something like 27 IPPs in the whole of sub-Saharan Africa. And if you look at what's happened in the last sort of 9 years just in South Africa, the success and the rollout of the REIPPP program has actually culminated in almost 102 IPPs in renewable energy in South Africa alone. So it's been a phenomenal success story, not just for South Africa, but for Africa. But, I think also when you look at what is happening on the energy landscape just in the region, it really makes for exciting times. Look at what's happening in Mozambique, right? So, Mozambique has, almost the 9th largest gas resources in the world at 187 TCF. I do believe that the future of energy, not just in Africa, but I think globally, is certainly green. And, we've had testament to that in South Africa with the rollout of a large number of renewable projects. And we've also seen, just with where the gas prices are, that, it makes for a compelling argument to actually look at gas as opposed to coal. Do you want to say something about what are you seeing in terms of financing on, renewables or financing on coal-fired projects and what you're encountering?
Thanks, Bhavtik. I think that's a very good overview of what we're seeing both in the rest of Africa and in South Africa. I think it's an exceptionally exciting time for the energy markets, as you say. I think we had a few number of IPPs, independent power producers on the continent, and with the global success of the renewable energy program in South Africa, we've seen that number really grow, and we've seen fantastic interest from international developers and local developers that have been developing the market. We've seen a lot of fantastic wind projects take off, a lot of solar PV, and a lot of concentrated solar power, which is a very innovative technology, which is good for both providing your mid-merit and your peaking because of the storage. I think on the coal side, we've seen some of the challenges around financing coal and the OECD requirements of what financiers, and particularly equated principal compliant financiers, can do. It's been reported in the press about challenges of certain lenders that will or won't consider, or depending on what the technology choice is. So coal has had its challenges, and obviously Eskom is predominantly coal-fired power. So they've also felt the heat of the technology challenges. I think gas is also the new exciting frontier, because as the gas prices are coming down, and obviously there's a big demand in South Africa and the region to actually grow the gas market. So we've seen that start off with the Sasol gas pipeline. There's a lot of new discoveries and development in Mozambique, as you mentioned. And obviously we're aware that the government's next program is to look at gas to power, which will include a distributed gas network in the country, with probably starting in the Eastern Cape and northern KwaZulu-Natal.
Fantastic. Yeah, look, I mean, I think, when I look back at my days in the Middle East, I recall that Oman used to be the poor cousin of the Middle East. When they actually found gas, it just completely catapulted that country into a different space altogether. I mean, from the gas finds, you had petrochemical plants, you had gas-to-fire power plants, you had, ethane propane crackers. You just had the spin-off effects of gas finds in that country just catapulted Oman into a different league. And I certainly foresee that, with Mozambique and the gas finds, 187 TCF, number 9 gas reserves in the world, and, just this being our neighbor on the cusp of South Africa. I think if we get our act together as South Africa pretty quickly, it means we can latch onto some of that gas. And as the government is actually envisaging creating a gas market through the gas-to-fire program, it could really all go well for South Africa. We look at, as you've pointed out correctly, we look at Eskom, and 90% plus of our power currently is coal-fired power generation. But I think if I look at what's happening, you've spoken about the financing more specifically, but if I look at even on the M&A side with coal-fired assets, it's becoming very, very difficult to actually solicit any interest. In fact, we know already that any organization that is signatory to the OECD consensus, any DFI, developmental financial institution, any bank out of the US or Europe will almost certainly stay away from financing coal. We as a South African institution, do take pride in the fact that we're a responsible lender. We still, have looked at coal projects in the past, and we still, have stringent criteria before we look at financing coal. But I think in years to come, coal financing is going to become incredibly difficult.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think as I said, it is a trend, and we've seen that with international financiers and even now with the local financiers. So I think that's why the options of the renewable program, and as I say, South Africa's got fantastic renewable resources, as does many other countries in the rest of Africa. I think that opens up a number of opportunities. And as we've seen with the requirements of the government in terms of job creation and socio-economic spend, I think they're not just bringing electricity and low-cost power to their users. I think they bring reliable power, but they also bring lots of socio-economic opportunities. They're bringing in the skills, and they're also creating opportunities for local communities and local skills and development and businesses that support the renewable energy program. So I think that's very constructive for the country. It meets both the energy needs plus the need for job creation and socio-economic spend, and also creating opportunities close to the communities.